Hello everyone, welcome to the portrait photography tutorial and learn practical and interesting portrait photography techniques. In this lesson, we will learn the composition of portrait photography. The biggest difference of portrait photography from landscape or product photography is that the subject is alive. As photographers, we can influence the photographed subject so that they can make a variety of poses according to different themes, but it is just the flexibility of the subject that puts forward higher requirements for portrait photography in terms of composition. Portrait photography needs to capture the feeling of the moment, requiring the photographer to have a keen vision and some foresight before pressing the shutter button. The position, pose, expression, movement of the subject, and the background should be properly arranged. So, the composition is one of the priorities in the portrait photography. By talking about composition, actually, we are talking about highlighting the subject and combining points, lines, surfaces, formats, light, shades, colors, and other components in an organic way to create visual beauty. Therefore, the visual and psychological excitement that a photo brings to the viewer comes from the layout of the various elements in the image. In any scene, we should reasonably arrange the subject with accompanying parts and the background, and present them in a stronger, more concentrated, and typical way than in real life, to enhance the artistic effect. There are many conditions for proper composition. Whether the subject, the accompanying parts, and the environment are reasonably balanced, whether the focal length and the aperture setting are reasonably chosen, whether the expression of the subject is reasonable, whether the lighting is proper, and so on. These all affect the effect of composition. So for portrait composition, you need to consider the overall structure, the dimensional effect, arrangement of objects in the photo, the shooting angle, light, shade, and color, etc. These are the main factors of portrait composition. For example, vivid posture, touching expressions, and emotional eyes are all considered as composition. The use of wide-angle, standard, and telephoto lenses can get different dimensional effects. With all that being said, how can we quickly master composition skills? First, we need to understand some of the principles needed for good compositions of portrait photography. Now, we'll get to know those principles with examples and graphs. Number 1. Highlighting the subject. People are the subject of the portrait photography. They are the core of the image. They are the center of the picture content, around which other elements should be arranged, echoing with the subject, to form an organic whole. In a photo, contrasts between the big and small, the whole and parts, the far and near, the darker and lighter, all serve to highlight the subject. Number 2. Balancing the layout. Balance is a visual pleasure that will make people comfortable and calm. Balance involves coverage, size, clarity, color, and tones of elements in the picture, so as to achieve visual balance. In the layout, there are the subject, the accompanying parts, the foreground and background. A reasonable layout shouldn't be monotonous. Instead, it should be rich in content, shading, and colors. Subjects are the main parts of portrait photography, so they should be arranged in a prominent position in the picture. The subject can be arranged in different ways, which will be further explained in the course later. The accompanying parts are closely related to the subject. They can be people or sceneries in the picture to play a supporting role. They can make the photo more balanced, supporting the overall atmosphere. Foreground generally refers to the scene in front of the subject. Near the camera, it can support the subject, making the subject more prominent, thus creating dimensions in a picture. The background, also known as the rear view, is the scene after the subject in the picture. It can also highlight the subject, rendering the atmosphere. Number 3. Livening the picture. Lively composition means all the factors that people view as beautiful are properly utilized, so that the picture is rich in change and lively, making viewers aesthetically pleased. It doesn't only refer to the subject themselves, but also factors like the light, shades, tones, background, and other factors. A lively composition comes from the photographer's creativity and imagination. In all portrait photography, the combination of all the elements of composition is actually for a purpose. to make the subject stand out, making the picture rich in levels. Today's introduction is only a preliminary introduction to portrait photography on composition. In the following courses, we will explore more cases of different categories. I hope it serves you well in portrait photography.